I can remember the first time I saw this giant collection of bones. I came here with my family when I was about 5, and I can remember bringing them to life in my imagination.
Great Valley.
Oh my... Now, any Generation X kid, aka disillusioned, middle-aged shell of a man, who's going to be completely honest with himself, has to admit that the trends, movies, toys, cereals, and the aesthetics of our prime are long gone. It's over. They're all relics. When you recollect on them, you have to know that you're celebrating and grieving pop culture heirlooms of our generation, albeit the most kick-ass generation. But it is over, kiddo. It's over. Now is the era of the Marvel green screen movies, social media influencers, online binge watching and shopping, and whatever the cryptocurrency is. What is cryptocurrency? Is it like Bitcoin? And for us, the ones probably spending just a bit too much time wishing that we could be transported back to those days, it can be pretty painful and alienating. But sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes, there is a trend that's transcendent, bigger than just a fad that helps define a single generation of youth. A hook that ensnares generation after generation after generation of kid, regardless of the changes on how it might be presented. I'm talking about thunder lizards. Yeah! Dinosaurs. 65 million years gone, yet always have a place at the table of a kid's mind. One of the earliest images to capture my imagination, if not the earliest, were these very yellowed and obsolete renditions of prehistoric beasts. Back when kids had imaginations, I spent countless hours staring at these illustrations, creating the movements and actions of a forever continuing adventure in my head, of which these were just snapshots. And above all, the legendary depictions of T-Rex versus Triceratops were so captivating, so awe-inspiring to me, that it rivaled anything adorning a dome or a chapel of the old world. Babe, what's my favorite dinosaur? What's my favorite dinosaur? What's my favorite dinosaur? Come on!
Triceratops.
What?
Triceratops.
Yeah! Who's this? Who's this?
Trypticon.
Okay. This guy? Who's this? Come on.
Grimoire.
Ooh! Who's this? Come on. Who's this? Come on.
Not both.
Excuse me?
Megatron.
Excuse me? Yeah! Of course, as paleontology marched along, the images of dinosaurs infecting children's minds evolved in step with the science. No longer did tales drag along the ground. Except with these. I bought these at a dollar store last week. Literally, the same molds are being used for cheap dinosaur toys now as they were back then in the world of 5 and dime stores. Fast forward again. No longer was the beginning and end of their story. They were big animals with pea-sized brains that were extinguished by a meteor. An age of enlightenment seemed to begin. If I had to put my finger on it, I'd say it began in 1993. But this is not about that. As much of a fan of the original and second movie as I am, and I don't want to hear any about it. This is about a rendition of our incessant love of dinosaurs long before that. This is about a particular hook that enchanted 9-year-old me and my friends who had the collector's bug early in life. I had friends! Besides all of this, back in the day we actually collected tangible things. Semi-biodegradable, paper-based products with printed images on them. Stamps, comic books, and trading cards. And not just sports-related ones. No. For a kid like me, I gobbled up licensed cards based on movies, TV shows, and cartoons. Shit like this. I don't even know why I have these, but I'm glad I do, but I don't know why I'm glad either, honestly. Now fast forward a few decades, beyond Beanie Babies and whatever the Pogs were, Pogs. Pogs! And what are kids collecting these days? And something else happened during the late 80s and early 90s that we kind of have to mention. A weird little trend that looking back is actually really difficult to validate and understand.
Is it contagious?
No, I disinfected it. Sports drinks have nutrients.
Welcome to a little pop culture fad known as the Gross Out Era. A vogue primarily in the underground comic world that unfurled across movies, cartoons, video games, and all manner of associated things. As stunted as my adulthood is, even a cynical old man somewhere deep inside has to look at some of this stuff now and go, oh, how is this kosher? How is this okay? Maybe the combination of consumer-spoiled Gen Xers breaching the cusp of their hormonally rebellious teenage years fueled, nay, supercharged by the grunge movement's dirty, liberated, and entitled anthem ignited a charge toward whatever lines we could find and cross. Or it was just a trend. It's just something that happened. It's disgusting and awesome. So, here we are, 1988. Dinosaurs omnipresent in the minds of kids everywhere, including mine. And these kids really like gross shit and collecting. And thus we get this. I instantly loved these, and I knew I needed all of them. And I knew my mother would be less than thrilled with the content. Intended as a follow-up and homage to the trading cards from the 60s that channeled B-movie science fiction, you know Mars Attacks, right? They're like that, only with f***ing dinosaurs. A series of exquisitely detailed gore-filled paintings depicting dino-induced violence and terror, along with maladroit human resistance, of course. And, as had become commonplace and kind of a requisite for us to get fully on board with a kid's entertainment property, it provided a wonderfully cliché but respectably fleshed out backstory complete with a scientific experiment gone wrong and time travel. Additional features like mock headlining news spreads, continuing storylines if you were lucky enough to get some of the cards sequenced, and, exploitation-worthy blood and guts aside, the artwork. I mean, it's work that an artist spent a substantial amount of time on. Sketching, inking, painting. I know, animation is still heralded by artists today too. But besides the conceptual artist that puts pencil to paper, stylus to iPad, come on. We're not talking about wire-framed, perfectly curved characters made with the Paths tool and GIMP, okay? I don't want to really get into that debate right now, but there's just a difference. Also, can we just take a quick moment, to reflect on what was deemed canon and acceptable for children 35 years ago? I'm not even remotely trying to comment on the ebb and flow of censorship, or what constitutes children's entertainment, or what goes just a little too far. Wow. Can you imagine this kind of being on display next to the gum rack at Target or Walmart? Ah, the late 80s. Sometimes it feels like just yesterday, and other times it feels like 100 years ago. But back then, growing up in a world oversaturated with merchandise and content directed specifically at us, even something like this, while not overly successful, could manage to claw out a chunk of the market for itself. Or at the very least, leave a fossilized imprint on some of us, and become a totem linking us to cherished memories. For example, I used to get my Dinosaurs attack cards at a 7-Eleven down the street from my house. I had some burgeoning allowance money, so I asked my mom if I could skip on down to the convenience store and pick up a pack. She gave her blessing and off I went. However, I didn't buy a pack. I bought packs. I bought all the packs. $40 worth in 1988 money. Needless to say, Mom was less than thrilled. What can I say? I wasn't great with money when I was a kid. Did I say I got any better? This is the exact same 7-Eleven that I used to routinely walk into 35 years ago, with a handful of bills brimming with excitement for whatever grotesque works of art awaited me, inside whatever pack of cards I tore at first. Looking back, it's such a simple scene. That's a big part of the allure of looking back, isn't it? That uncomplicated nature of your uncomplicated 9-year-old life. Something so small could bring you such a sense of fulfillment and joy. Actually, let me just... takes me right back. Cut.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I take solace in the fact that these giants of prehistoric times that filled me with such wonder when I was a child still have a grip on the hearts of children today. And with that enduring interest, the merchandise that continues to honor them, even if not as infamously, tastelessly, and creatively as back then. But what we have now will always be because of what we had before. But the older stuff will always have a home in here, and in here.